Well, breaking news today. Not only was the NASCAR schedule released yesterday, today it was the big day for the IndyCar schedule. The NTT IndyCar 2021 schedule was released earlier today over on their social media feeds. And of course, if you saw Robin Miller's Racer Magazine article earlier this week, you kind of already knew what was coming. So let's dive right into it. Of course, the key takeaways from the IndyCar 2021 schedule. We all knew about the Nashville Street Course like last week or 2 weeks ago. That has been added to the schedule. The one I didn't expect was 3 races at Indianapolis. Of course, we knew that the GMR Indy Grand Prix was going to be one of the races. We knew that the Indianapolis 500 was a mainstay, and those 2 races were not going to change. What shocked me was seeing a 3rd race there added to the schedule. And of course, this is the big one, and this is the money. This is the big money grab right here. Is that 3rd race at Indianapolis? It will feature an IndyCar and NASCAR doubleheader. Huge money grab, and I will cover that in just a bit once we reveal the schedule to you all. Another key takeaway, Iowa has been shut down supposedly. I don't know what the future holds for the Xfinity and the Truck Series there, but we know for a fact IndyCar will not return. There was rumors about that track. We will address that as well in just a little bit. Richmond, well, it was nice while it lasted. That's about all we can say about that. And it didn't last very long, did it? We'll get to that in a second as well. And the Texas doubleheader. Yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at the schedule now for the NTT IndyCar season. Of course, no surprise, we start the season where it finishes. And we will restart it March 7th at the streets of St. Petersburg. That, of course, will be a race on NBC, the main network. Then we will head to the newly repaved Barber Motorsports Park, a track we did not see this season due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that will be on NBCSN. We then head a week later, of course that race is a month after St. Pete. 1 week later we head to the streets of Long Beach, per usual, and of course that race will be on the main network as well of NBC. Then we have our first 2 ovals on the schedule, or our first oval of the schedule of 3. You've heard it right, 3. And it's May 1st, May 2nd, and it will both races will be at Texas Motor Speedway. After that, of course, we got the GMR IndyCar Grand Prix on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Then we have the Indy 500 2 weeks later. After that, we go to our doubleheader at Belle Isle, another race that was canned due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That'll be a doubleheader again. All those races, those 4 races, will all be on the NBC network. Not the sports network, the main network. Road America will host a race then on June 20th at Road America. So 2 weeks before the NASCAR Cup event that is scheduled for July 4th weekend. We then, on July 4th weekend, and this is a race I will be going to. I actually have ticket credit there, so I will be going to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course July 4th weekend. I don't really have a choice, but hey, I'm excited. I've never seen an IndyCar road course race, so I'm excited to see it. I will be there in attendance, and it will be on the main network, so I will not only attend it, I'm sure I'll be watching it on the DVR to see the parts that I may or may not have missed while sitting in one area of the track. They will then go to the streets of Toronto, and that'll kick off a long stretch of races on NBCSN, starting with Toronto, then off to the streets of Nashville on August 8th. They will then head back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. That will be the third and final race at the prestigious Speedway, the home of IndyCar. They will then, a week later, head to Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. That will be a Saturday night race. It was confirmed last month. That would for sure be a night race once again after going to the daytime this past season. Then we will end the season at two other road courses, one of them being Portland. And of course, these two road courses were scrapped due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Portland and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca both will wrap up the season, and they will be on NBC. Now, let's recap, let me give my thoughts on this. Where to begin? I guess I'll begin with my grade. And it's not a very high grade for IndyCar. I give this, honestly, a D-. I don't think I've ever given a schedule such a low grade. Ever. It's atrocious. It's flat out atrocious. It's, losing Coda was understandable. It just happened. It's unfortunate, but it happens. So, I understand losing Coda. Iowa, when you're operating in the red, and you really just don't have a way to dig out of the red, as far as financials go, you've got no choice. I know Roger Penske was debating buying the track. They decided not to go that route, and unfortunately, it sounds like Iowa's going to join that list of tracks that is now abandoned, which is a shame. It's a really beautiful track down at Iowa. It's just a shame. It's really, really a shame to see them lose not only a race date, possibly they're going to lose the Xfinity and the Truck Series in 2021. Those schedules still not released. We might bring those to you here on SCN when they get released, but to lose all those tracks, or to lose all those dates, it hurts. And again, they were operating in the red, just running races, and something just wasn't right there with the financials. And it's unfortunate. It really is. You feel for the Iowa area. It's unfortunate. That's about the only words I can say about it. I sure hope that someone will buy this track out, and that way it's not abandoned. It's, you never want to see a track abandoned. I would hate to see them suffer the same fate as North Wilkesboro, or have it dug up and turned into a Walmart. I would hate it for those people. It's a nice oval. It deserves a shot. It deserves, if the right buyer could come in and make the right changes, I think that track could be really good. I think it could host Cup races in the future. I think it could host IndyCar, NASCAR Xfinity, and the NASCAR Truck Series. But they need the right buyer, and they need someone to buy it fast before that track becomes or suffers the same fate as many of these other tracks have over the last few decades. Again, Coda was expected. Richmond, of course, they signed a 3-year deal with NASCAR, who owns SMI, who owns Richmond Raceway. There was no sponsors that stepped up to sponsor the event, from what I heard. And since there were no sponsors for the event, they decided it was not a good idea to have an event at Richmond Raceway. And that's why the deal was that's why NASCAR and SMI have opted out of the deal, from my understanding. I wasn't a fan of that race going there. I think it was good to have another short track. They need a 2-mile oval, though. My biggest takeaway from the IndyCar schedule is it just looks half-assed at the end of the day. Of the ovals you could have done double headers at, I think Texas was the worst one you could do one at. We knew the Indy 500 wasn't going to be a doubleheader. But if you were going to do a doubleheader for an oval, it should have been Gateway. That's just my opinion on it. I just don't think Texas provides great racing. Since the repave, it really isn't a great track. Honestly, it just isn't. And it's not the best on the IndyCar circuit. You know, maybe things change, but that package, it just doesn't work for them. You know, and to be honest, you know, they have preached for years. They need the presence in the Northeast. The only race in the Northeast now is Toronto. And again, that's going to involve a lot of people getting passports. We don't know what the situation at the border is going to be like next year. If we don't have a vaccine, we really don't know. It could be the exact same summer. It could be same old story next summer as it was this summer. Who knows what could happen, but, you know, the only race in the Northeast being at Toronto is not a great thing. I don't think it addresses I don't think it addresses anything, I guess is what I'm going for. You know, maybe you could have talked to Pocono. Again, I know that Pocono has caused a lot of grief. It has caused a lot of fatalities in the last few years, and it's unfortunate. It really is. It caused Robert Wickens, you know, that race, unfortunately, paralyzed Robert Wickens, likely ended his race career. Obviously, he's bouncing back nicely, and I'm excited to see it. Especially after seeing that crash and watching it in person, it was horrifying to watch. I was in the stands for that. It was horrifying to watch. I never seen something like that, and it definitely killed, I think, the vibe of that race weekend. But again, I think, you know, maybe you could have done a race there. Maybe you could have done a race at Watkins Glen. Maybe even Michigan could have hosted a race. You know, maybe, you know, there are ovals out there who I'm sure would love nothing more than to host the NTT IndyCar series. I think they would love nothing more than to do it. And if, of course, they could find the sponsorship to do it, they would. Right now, though, like I said, it just looked half-assed when I saw it. And, you know, obviously I know I'm going to Mid-Ohio next year, and I will be at that race when I do decide to exchange my tickets. I'm not a fan of that being on the 4th of July, but that's my personal preference, because now I'm just going to be spending more damn money on that trip. But, hey, it's okay. It's okay. We'll figure something out. We'll get to that point when I get to it. Right now, I got a lot more on my plate to worry about than that at this point. But it's a good time to have a race, I think, on the 4th of July. I think it's good. Looking at the rest of the schedule, I mean, Toronto's going to be a good race. I mean, none of these tracks are terrible, with the exception of Texas in some cases. I just don't think Texas provides that great of racing. But I mean, Worldwide Technology Raceway under the lights, I think that's good given the package that they have. St. Pete's always a decent race. I'm excited for the Nashville race. I think that's the biggest add. But my biggest takeaway from the D- schedule is just they gotta work on this oval situation. They really gotta work on it. They've gotta work on that big time. I think that is like code red right there. You need to fix that. But the IndyCar and NASCAR doubleheader, I'm thrilled about. I'm really, really thrilled that the weekend of August 14th and 15th they will host another doubleheader. I think that's great for both sports. I think it's great for publicity. I think it's really good for sponsorship. And I think it opens a whole new world for both series. And of course, if Jimmy can secure sponsorship, which I don't see why he wouldn't, maybe Jimmy Johnson runs that doubleheader and runs the IndyCar race. Maybe he comes out of retirement and runs the Cup race with Chip Ganassi in a third car. I'm just bouncing ideas out there. Maybe some of the IndyCar guys give their shot at the NASCAR circuit that weekend. Who knows? There's a lot that could happen. I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for both sports. And I'm really, really excited for that weekend, too. There are many weekends that look like they could be exciting, but again, I just think you got to address the oval situation. You got to get at least 2 of them on there. I mean, this is just road course overkill. Looking at it, road and street overkill. But we will see what happens as we go forward here. And of course, I'm going to be at least somewhat optimistic about the IndyCar schedule, and we will see what happens. Obviously, COTA being removed stinks as well. It really didn't get a fair shot to succeed due to the pandemic, but the pandemic really did hurt a lot more than you think it hurt. I won't even get into that and the politics of it. Again, I don't want to steer into politics here. This is not what this channel is about, so I guess I will end it right there then. I want to say thank you guys for watching. If you liked what you saw, please give us a like. If you didn't, feel free to dislike. I can take the criticism. I'll just sit here and crack open a beer, and it'll put me out of my misery having a few drinks. Anyway, subscribe, and hopefully follow us on our social media, and hopefully we'll be back here soon. Again, if you like this, I've mentioned it before, we may consider doing something along these lines going forward. So we hope you will like this, and we hope to see you all real soon, either here on SCN or over on our other channel at GCN. Until then, goodbye everyone.